Routers and switches use the operating system, the Cisco IOS, and configuration. A Cisco IOS image is a binary executable file of a hardware feature of a device. To ensure the smooth functioning of the network, reduce downtime of the networking devices, and use the best practices of network management, you have to manage the Cisco IOS images and configuration files efficiently. You can ensure this by using the correct versions and performing necessary backups. Cisco IOS image files contain the Cisco IOS software required for the basic operations of a Cisco device. On the other hand, the device configuration files contain a set of user-defined configuration commands that determine the functionality of a Cisco device. The Cisco IOS file system feature provides a single interface to all the file systems that a router uses. A Cisco router uses the file systems of RAM, NVRAM, Flash, and Trivial File Transfer Protocol servers. Each iOS file system contains Cisco IOS image files and device configuration files. As the number of devices on your network grows, you may want to store your Cisco IOS software and configuration files on a central server. This will help you control the number and revision level of software images and configuration files that you must maintain as an administrator. Network equipment is often moved from one location to another, removed from the network, or may be subject to configuration changes. The process is referred to as adds, moves, and changes. This creates a need for changes in the Cisco IOS. You can use the Cisco IOS software copy commands to move configurations from one component or device to another, such as RAM, NVRAM, or a file server. You can also use the show command to display static information and use the debug command to display dynamic data. The show and debug commands are built-in tools for troubleshooting. How would we use the TFTP server for moving, copying, or backing up configuration files and iOS images? First, let's look at what TFTP is. TFTP is a file transport protocol, and as its name suggests, it's something close to the FTP protocol. TFTP differs from FTP in terms of the transport protocol it uses and the lack of any authentication mechanisms. While FTP uses the robust TCP protocol to establish connections and complete transfers, TFTP uses the UDP protocol, which is insecure and lacks error checking. TFTP is mostly used on a LAN, rather than a WAN or on the Internet. The major limitations of TFTP are authentication and directory visibility, which means that you don't get to see the files and directories available on the TFTP server. TFTP works by default on port 69. The default location for the active configuration is in RAM, and the default location for the startup configuration is NVRAM. If the configuration was lost, you would need a backup of the startup configuration. To counter this problem, one of the backup copies of the configuration file can be placed on a TFTP server. Similarly, sometimes the iOS image has to be upgraded or restored on a device. Here again, the TFTP server can be used to hold the image. It's important to connect a router, A, Flash, and a system, TFTP. Running copy, Flash, TFTP will back up the current iOS image files on the TFTP server. This should be a regular practice and should be done whenever there is a change made to the Flash. Copy TFTP Flash sends back the original iOS image, which was backed up.